You are directly working alongside a dude who has given instructions on how to smuggle drugs into America. You can't say that you're working to stop smuggling drugs into America when this dude is sitting right behind you who smuggles drugs into America and teaches other people how to smuggle drugs into America. It's just so monstrously hypocritical. JD Vance's advisor posted on Reddit for years about the use of cocaine and gas station heroin and other drugs. Aaron Koski, JD Vance's financial policy advisor, called Vance a Trump bootlicker and instructed users on how to transport drugs through the TSA in his posts. Coke, then opioids, is always my go-to, he wrote. One of JD Vance's key policy advisors, Aaron Koski, has for years posted extensively on Reddit about using a variety of drugs, including cocaine and opiates, under the username Psychotic Mammal. In the posts, which were recent as 3 months ago, Koski wrote about experiencing withdrawal from trying to kick tianeptine? That's new to me. Also known as gas station heroin and kratom. Advisor advised other users on how to transport drugs on domestic flights and called Vance a Trump bootlicker. According to his LinkedIn profile, Koski, who's in his late 20s, has been advising Vance on financial policy since past May and has been working in the vice presidential nominee's Senate office since March of last year. A recent political article in Vance's Inner Circle described Koski as helping the senator flesh out his opponent on some cryptocurrency regulations and his efforts to introduce new banking regulations after the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Before working for Vance, Koski worked on the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee and as a policy advisor to the Security and Exchange Commissioner, Mark Ayuda. The crypto industry has seen Vance as an ally since he ran for Senate in 2022 and then disclosed that he personally owed more than $100,000 in Bitcoin. Koski has criticized the SEC chair, Gary Gensler's heavy-handed approach to crypto regulation multiple times. Over the summer, Vance circulated a draft bill that would remove much of the authority the SEC and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission have over governing digital currency. At the time, Politico held the bill just one more industry-friendly pieces of legislation. A Wired investigation shows Koski is also the person posting Psychotic Mammal. This account has posted personal details that precisely match Koski's resume and has linked to a little-known Instagram account dedicated to photos of Koski wearing preppy outfits. Cool stuff. So what he posts is in stark contrast to Vance's own statements related to drug crime. Since being elected to the Senate, he has positioned himself as a leader at preventing fentanyl trafficking, and as recently as August has said that the Trump-Vance administration would support the use of the death penalty as punishment against drug dealers. Vance, who has spoken at length about fentanyl trafficking and rose to prominence as the author of the book that discusses his mother's drug addiction, which he referenced during the the RNC speech this summer. He also argued that Democrats are letting drugs cross the border from Mexico. He also blamed Mexican and Chinese cartels and drug producers as being responsible for his mother's addiction when she was addicted to prescription opioids. So I know any opportunity to vilify and go full xenophobic with it and vilify immigrants, but unfortunately that was not the case. After Wired contacted Koski for comment, some of Psychotic Mammal's posts about the drugs were deleted and their postmark avatar was changed to a picture of characters from Star Wars movie Attack of the Clones. Good save. Good save. I mean, like, at least unlike Mark Robinson, you tried, you can't, like, Mark Robinson was just like, I'm just gonna leave that stuff up there. It's too saucy. It's too good. I don't want to be able to not jerk off to it later. So I'm leaving all of my posts up there. I am gonna say that it was Antifa or perhaps some like leftist radicals or Marxists who are actually the ones doing the horny posting. But as for me, I want to leave that shit up there because everyone needs to know about how I love drinking my sister-in-law's piss. So that is just basically his course of action. It seems with JD Vance's financial advisor, he's decided that he's just going to change a couple things and hope nobody notices. Hope no one understands what's truly taking place there. Like millions of Americans, the statement read, I've struggled with drug use, which in my case was mostly an attempt to self-medicate against the effects of epilepsy and epilepsy medication. I deeply regret posting these comments. I'm not proud of this, and I'm embarrassed it's being publicized this way, but I'm thankful to say that part of my life is behind me. The last post was a couple months ago, by the way. So, hey, by the way, I'm not anti-drug. I'm not here to say you can't use drugs. In fact, I think there's a massive amount of hypocrisy with drugs. I think people are totally fine using all the society-deemed good drugs like alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, coffee, Tylenol, aspirin, all that kind of stuff. Those are the good drugs. Go buy them plentifully, use them, that kind of shit. But when it comes to the illicit drugs, the illegal drugs, those are the bad drugs that only criminals use and only criminals distribute, right? That kind of shit. So I think there's a massive problem with that. Huge problem, too, when you have someone who's consistently vilifying glorifying drug users, saying that like we're going to clean up the streets and we're going to effectively get rid of all this fentanyl by going even harder on drugs, policies that have shown themselves to make the war on drugs unwinnable. Drugs won. At this point, drugs are more prolific, they're more accessible, they're easily available everywhere, they're more powerful than they were before, they're more profitable than they were before, and they're making some of the people that work within criminal organizations who also engage in human trafficking and other stuff very, very wealthy and powerful. So drugs won. The war on drugs was a failure, massive ass failure, but then you'll get people who consistently keep trying to vilify them, while people working in their inner circles are giving instructions on Reddit on how to traffic drugs across the border. How can you on one end be like, we need to stop drug trafficking, those evil Chinese and Hezbollah and Iran and MS-13 and the Mexicans, they're bringing all the filthy, disgusting drugs into our country. Also, I'm working with a guy who's bringing filthy, disgusting drugs into the country. For the past 11 years, Psychotic Mammal has used Reddit to document their use of a variety of drugs, including cocaine, tianeptine, kratom, oxycodone, Ritalin, and MDMA. In one post from 8 years ago, they listed all the drugs they tried at that point, rating them on a scale from 1 to 10. These drug-related posts have continued while Krofsky has been employed by the Senate. In May 2022, for example, Psychotic Mammal responded to r/cocaine subreddit, giving advice on how to smuggle drugs past airport security. Putting a bag between pages of a book or in a wallet is also a safe bet, they wrote. TSA X-ray machines just show different types of materials, such as different colors. What they're looking for is metal. Since most book covers have also plastic in them, it'll just show up as all the same color. I've never had an issue. You are directly working alongside a dude who has given instructions on how to smuggle drugs into America. You can't say that you're working to stop smuggling drugs into America when this dude is sitting right behind you, who smuggles drugs into America and teaches other people how to smuggle drugs into America. It's just so monstrously hypocritical. He posted a video from a Senate committee hearing in which Vance questions a former drug enforcement, a DEA agent, on increasing use of nitazines, manufactured opioids. Kofsky appears in the background. They posted a video on several drug-related subreddits, including r/opioid drugs, r/obscure drugs. Psychotic Mammal also posted an r/research chemicals, writing, surprising. Politicians know about nitazines. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance asked witnesses about nitazines. Is it just me, or is it super surprising? Like, I'm just confused how this guy's heard of the zines. I can't imagine any of his colleagues know anything about them. I know one. Weird. Oh, strange. Random how this all happened. My God, how did he find out about these? A different user comments on the post, going out Kosky and writing, that dude on the right behind him looks high on something. Lol. Psychotic Mammal then agreed with the user, writing, haha, I didn't notice that guy before. His eyes are deaf bugging. Maybe he snorted some old white girl beforehand? I'm sure half of Congress rails lines. You would know. You're him. I love that you're referring to Blow as white girl. He was hitting that white girl right before. His eyes are bugging out, that's for sure. That's me. Later in the thread, a different user accused Psychotic Mammal of being Vance because they linked a video that was unlisted. Unlisted, 21 views. Senator Vance, is that you? Also super risky doing this shit. You know, linking yourself this closely. I'm sure this is how Wired found this all out. Like, they were probably like, that is unusual that a random person who posts a lot about how much he loves drugs on these forums about drugs posted a link to a video that no one would have known about, only 21 views. So he had to have known about this video to specifically want to bring attention to it. This is like how like serial killers apparently come back to like the scene of the crime a lot because they want to relive the moment. It feels like you wanted everyone to know that this is both you're super high while this is taking place in front of JD Vance as he's talking about it, but also don't really totally want to get in trouble. So I'm not that guy. I'm Psychotic Mammal, but that guy looks high as fuck on cocaine specifically, as if he's done a lot of cocaine before he arrived there for that hearing, sitting behind JD Vance, talking about the dangers of people smuggling drugs into the country, something that I provide instructions on how to do while being super high on white girl. By the way, that's not me. There's no way to prove that. In comments now deleted on obscure drugs, Psychotic Mammal responded to a user claiming that nitazines are not obscure drugs, called Vance a Trump bootlicker. I can't believe that this Trump bootlicker Vance is ahead of the curve here, the comment reads. So, much like how Mark Robinson was both doing a lot of, I'm creating my own evidence one day that could incriminate me, but I can't help myself, because I'm so fucking horny. This guy was basically horny for people knowing that he was high, or wanting to know that people around JD Vance are high as fuck, like just railing fucking massive ass rails of fucking cocaine, hitting this like fucking hearing. And as JD Vance is sitting there in front of a microphone being like, okay, good, yes, drugs are very bad, and they come in because of Chinese people and Hezbollah and Mexican cartel. Good, yes, all right. So everyone gets that, right? And then he's just sitting behind him like, I am so fucking high right now on drugs I may have smuggled into the country illegally. He describes numerous instances of drug use and posts dating back from the time Krovsky lurked for Senator Pat Toomey and Vance. I love coke on its own, mixed with benzos, mixed with opioids, my favorite to be honest. I even love a line or two after smoking a few bowls. I'd even say that coke is my second favorite drug behind opioids. In May of last year, they wrote about how my latest tiaptine binge was skyrocketing my tolerance and hoping I can finally kick the tia. References to an unscheduled antidepressant that produces a similar effect to opioids and which was banned in 12 states and is commonly sold in convenience stores. In May 2022, they wrote, coke, then opioids is always my go-to. I only speedball if I have enough opioids to redose when I'm out of blow. By the way, don't speedball, kids. It's what killed Chris Farley. It's very dangerous. It's very hard on your heart. Your body is basically taking two very, very different chemicals at the same time that have different physiological effects upon your body. And yes, it's very, very hard on your heart to be taking things like opioids and then be taking things like coke, speed, meth, all that kind of shit. It has killed a lot of people. Psychotic Mammals repeatedly posted about suffering from an addiction to tianeptine. In a post, he says, ODSMT for tiaptine withdrawals. I'm trying to figure out what the tiaptine to ODSMT equivalent dose conversion is. I have a few grams of it coming in the mail and hoping to finally kick it. They also repeatedly reference using kratom, a substance sourced from the leaves of the Southeastern Asian tree that mimics the effects of opioids and is often sold at corner stores and smoke shops. By the way, I have a hard time vilifying drugs that can be effectively used and have been shown in test studies to try and help people get off very severe addictions. There have been studies that show that kratom could effectively try and get people off of opioids, off alcohol addiction, stuff like that. Not to say that it doesn't have its own dangers and side effects, but I'm just saying, before we just outright vilify psilocybin, outright vilify MDMA, these drugs that have been shown that they can actually have potential benefits that are actually from more natural sources than, say, refined drugs, which yes, come from natural sources, the coca leaf, but then it's just so heavily refined with ether and gasoline in order to extract very powerful drugs from the leaves themselves. If there are drugs that can help people get off more serious drugs, then we shouldn't vilify them as much. I'm not here to tell everybody, hey, go out and try all these hard drugs or something like that. But also, I'm not going to treat this the same way I'm going to treat, say, the fact that he loves doing speedballs. Wired investigation shows that Krovsky appears to be closely tied to the Psychotic Mammal username, blah, blah, blah. These are all the connections, shares links to his Instagram accounts. I don't know how people, like, maybe it's because he got away with this for a long time. And he was doing this for so long that he just felt invincible. Like, no one's going to ever associate Psychotic Mammal. And then I guess he just flew a little too close to the tianeptines or whatever, but he posted a video that clearly would only be something that someone would want someone else to know about, that only had 21 views, that's so hyper specific about a hearing in which Vance speaks about something where he was in the background of. So again, it's like a serial killer going back to the scene of the crime and just kind of posting evidence, being like, I just want to see how people react to this. And then some people were kind of like, that's kind of weird that you just randomly knew about this one clip. The guy behind JD Vance looks high as fuck, and he's like, he does, yeah, he looks like he was on this many milligrams of cocaine at the time after he was doing this many milligrams of opioids. Highly specific for me to say, I know, but that's what his eyes look like. Yeah, he is, quote, bugging out on White Girl. So one last look at the evidence question. So if you want to know what someone very high on cocaine at a hearing about illegal drugs, standing beside a person vying to become the vice president of the United States talking about illegal drugs looks like, there you have it. This is what it looks like. Just tweaking. tripping balls. Yeah. Again, though, like the very people who vilify LGBTQ plus people, but love sucking the man cock, you know, all those bigots, the Steven Crowders of the world, the ones who are consistently like, gay is sin, gay destroys the family unit, gays are destroying society, but I just love sucking men's dick, but I can't do it publicly. It really sucks that people might engage in activities while at the same time they vilify those activities and then try to make life harder for other people who want to use these kind of substances or engage in sexual activities or do any of these kind of things. You're sitting beside a man who's effectively trying to make the war on drugs even worse while you yourself are not only loving drugs but are potentially high as fuck in the background. So yeah, good job. Keep doing what you're doing, you know?
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Voltimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.